Trump is making it happen. Everybody else got egg on their face and will continue to have egg on your face because USA is back. Oh, man, this is freaking fantastic. Right here from Breitbart Business. Breitbart Business Digest. Trump's blue-collar boom begins. Yep. We're going to scroll down here. The January JOLTS report underscores a nascent blue-collar boom. Particularly notable is manufacturing, as job openings and hires rose significantly in the early weeks of Trump's second term. Manufacturing jobs climbed by 30,000, marking the first significant increase in several months and reaching their highest level since September. What? What? Manufacturing hires also increased by 30,000, their first substantial rise in months. Additionally, the number of workers voluntarily leaving manufacturing jobs, a strong indicator of confidence, increased, further highlighting growing optimism in this politically and economically sensitive sector. Which dovetails with the Purchaser Manager Index, which registers strongest growth since June of 2022. Factory sector activity has not retreated. Manufacturing is awaking after 2 years of stagnation under Sniffy Joe. Rather than deterring investment, Trump's policies appear to have encouraged manufacturers to invest more in domestic production. What? And that dovetails right here. Tariffs work. This is from March 4th. Honda shifts new production plant from Mexico to Indiana. Facing the potential for tariffs on Mexican-assembled autos, Honda has canceled plans to invest in a new factory in Guanajuato, Mexico, beginning in November 2027, and instead they will retool their Civic auto production in Greensburg, Indiana. That just goes with exactly what Douglas Irwin said. No fan of tariffs, but he said it right here in chapter 6 of his book, Clashing Over Commerce. This chapter 6. Yeah. Anyways, I think it's chapter 6. Chapter 6. He goes right here. The decades after the Civil War were a period of uniformly high protective tariffs and unprecedented economic expansion and growth in manufacturing. In the 1870s, the U.S. accounted for 23% of the world's production of manufacturing goods. By 1913, that share had risen to 36%. We increased by 50% our number of manufacturing goods, largely at the expense of Britain, who fell from 32% to 14%. By the turn of the century, the U.S., in your face, Canada, was the world's leading manufacturing producer. Oh, but guess what? The Brits followed a path of free trade. Oh, but Josh, we only exported agricultural products, as some guy said on my YouTube channel. I said, what are you talking about? It's just right here. By the turn of the century, the U.S. was the world's leading manufacturing export. I don't know how else you can say that's just agriculture. That doesn't make any sense to me. Britain, which was the leading industrial nation that pursued a policy of free trade. Interesting. The U.S. actually had an unusual policy mix. We blocked importation of some foreign goods, offered virtually unimpeded access to people and capital and ideas into the country from abroad. So unlike what we're doing now, where we import all these people and we export all of our jobs, back then we're saying we're putting tariffs on imports coming in so we can keep a high manufacturing base and we still bring all kinds of people in, which is fine by me. Interesting. Active tariffs could have promoted capital investment from abroad. Since tariffs prevented foreign producers from exporting directly into the U.S., they might have made foreign direct investments into the U.S. to serve consumers inside the tariff wall. Interesting. Side note for say we only exported agricultural goods right here. The U.S. caught up with and overtook Britain in terms of aggregate labor productivity, largely by shifting resources out of agriculture and improving their relative productivity in manufacturing. Okay, so anyway, enough of that. So the U.S. is crushing. We're going to bring the manufacturing jobs back. And what else we got? I want to show you something else here too. Canada's power move. Trade tensions with Canada had reached new heights as Trump responded forcefully to Ontario's decision to impose electricity levy aimed at American consumers. Ontario's electricity levy had become a flashpoint, illustrating the profound risks of American reliance on Canadian imports for strategic goods and resources. Critics who previously argued in 2018 that Trump's tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum were unnecessary have been proven wrong by Ontario's aggressive economic maneuvering. The province's willingness to use electricity exports as leverage exposed a dangerous vulnerability. You think? If Canada is willing to restrict energy exports to the U.S. to exert economic leverage, what would prevent Canada or any other trading partner from weaponizing exports in response to unrelated policy disagreements? From, maybe the promotion of the jabby jabbies, LGBT, Second Amendment, maybe this, George Floyd, who knows, man? So check this out. No reason to worry. A Chinese firm built more ships in 1 year than the entire U.S. has made since World War II. Are you hearing this? A Chinese firm built more ships in 1 year than the entire U.S. has made since World War II. That's freaking scary. That's freaking scary. In only 2 decades, China has grown to be the dominant player in shipbuilding, claiming more than half of the world's commercial shipbuilding market, while the U.S. share has fallen to just 0.1%. But no, that's not national security. We don't have to worry about that. This is crazy. The erosion of the U.S. and allied shipbuilding capabilities poses an urgent threat to military readiness. But no, but it's a free market. So I just want to show you something right here. Hey, I'm just going to go into my man. This is Orrin Cass. This is his name, Orrin Cass, I think. Behind some of the world's highest tariff barriers, the U.S. transformed from a colonial backwater to a continent-spanning industrial colossus. From 1870 to the eve of the Great Depression, the U.S. GDP per capita grew at twice the rate of the U.K. Most of those great success stories in modern development, countries like Japan, South Korea, and Israel, likewise hinge on aggressive trade barriers to develop domestic industry. Even the British came to their senses, probably a little bit too late. As John Maynard Keynes at one point said, "I am no longer a free trader. And I believe that practically no one else is." He said this in 1933. In the old sense of the terms, to the extent of believing in a very high degree of national specialization and abandoning in any industry which is unable for the time to hold its own. Don't sacrifice your own industry, even if for the right now it needs some help. But check this out. The free traders aren't looking out for American interests, as we can see by Paul Samuelson, essentially the godfather of modern economics. But he says right here, any intelligent person who agrees that the U.S. must play an important role in the post-war international world will strongly oppose protectionism. Why? Because they all attempt to snatch prosperity for ourselves at the expense of the rest of the world. Dig to the bottom of the post-war case for free trade, and one finds not a closely reasoned and unassailable doctrine, but a rather condescending lecture about preferring the national interest over the global. Very interesting, is it not? Here's Warren Buffett from 2003. Our country has been behaving like an extraordinarily rich family that possesses an immense farm. We have, day by day, been both selling pieces of the farm and increasing the mortgage on what we still own. I'm not even talking about national debt. I'm talking about losing our own ability to build ships, to generate our own electricity. We don't have to rely on other people. But check this out. It's just anti-American stuff here. It drives me crazy. The most technologically advanced economy in the world, us, could find itself running a $250 billion deficit in advanced technology products, incapable of fabricating advanced chips that it itself pioneered. In that country, the U.S., national security would be put at risk, productivity, growth, and innovation would decline, and workers and their families and communities would be ultimately paid the price in worsening economic prospects. Which is exactly what's happened, other than the places in Washington, D.C., Boston, San Francisco. The worsening economic prospects are happening throughout the United States. And here's why. Here's the anti-tariff people right here. A guy named Adam Posen. No, that name speaks for itself. President of the Peterson Institute for International Economics. He has argued, what's really going on here with concern for American manufacturing is a general fetish for keeping white males of low education outside the cities in powerful positions that they're in the United States. Adam Posen. Yep. Exactly. And right here, Michael Strain. Same thing. His name speaks for himself. Adam Posen is a poser. Michael Strain wants to strain the economy. He says the United States should not even want to be a manufacturing center. Here's Michael Boskin, chair of President George H.W. Bush's Council of Economic Advisors. Computer chips, potato chips, what's the difference? I don't have anything to say Boskin. I don't know what name that could speak for itself. But we got Posen the poser, Michael Strain, who's trained to recognize what could be going on for the manufacturing, why it's important. It's crazy, dude. It's crazy. And the funny thing is, even there's a guy right here named Dana Roderick from Harvard, one of the few long-standing skeptics of globalization. He relates the story of asking Paul Krugman for feedback on his manuscript, Has Globalization Gone Too Far? And Paul Krugman said, I have no quarrel with your economics, but I should not be providing ammunition to the barbarians. I should not give comfort to all those protectionists who stand ready to hijack any argument and to provide with intellectual respectability to their positions. Dude, the issue is the free traders hate regular Americans. They do. There's just no two ways around that. I'm just telling you right now, they hate it. I mean, you just see they're not nationalistic at all. The National Review right here. The classical case for free trade is that free trade always benefits the country adopting it, regardless of the trade's positions of other nations. The economist's free trade is essentially a unilateral case. A country serves its own interest by producing free trade regardless of what other countries might do. And yet, they're saying protectionist policies might be beneficial in the absence of retaliation. On the other hand, protectionist policies harm. It's just a whole. These guys, they don't. It's like, wait a second. So, protectionist policies, we've seen they don't harm the United States in terms of the history of it. They just don't. South Korea, China, freaking. What's a Canadian import, by the way, tax on milk? Let's just see. All right, Canada imposes tariffs on dairy products imported from the U.S. with rates over 200%. Weird. Look at this. We've collected $260 billion towards the end of 2024. American importers have collected $260 billion in trade war duties for the U.S. government. 90 billion of the total was collected by Trump's first administration, but 175 came during Biden's administration. Kind of crazy. All right, so basically right there, 1967, the average import was 7.5% tariff, all the way down to 1.4% in 2017. I mean, that's a booming economy, but it's not booming in terms of middle-class labor. It's just not. It's just, we know that for a fact. And look at that. So now we're going to 7.1, which is below what it was in 1947. So we're at 7.1, below what it was in 1947. And yet 1947 to basically mid-60s, the economy is booming. And of course, we didn't want tariffs back then anyway, because we're the only game in town. We didn't want us to have tariffs because no one else had the ability to import to us anyway, because we're the only game in town. So it made sense to reduce tariffs at that stage. The beauty of the United States was built on tariffs. It's just that simple. Steel imports from China peaked at 2.5 million metric tons in 2014 and have rapidly declined since then due to U.S. tariffs and trade remedies targeting Chinese dumping and subsidies. Steel from China accounted for 1.8% of all U.S. steel imports, down from 8% in 2014. Now, that's fantastic. That's what we want. Now, the most of our steel and aluminum, at least the steel right here, comes from where was it? Hold on a second. Yeah, right there. I think it was from Canada, if memory serves. Yeah, from Canada. Now, if Canada is going to threaten us with electricity tariffs, well, there you go, man. We just can't rely on these people. I'm sorry, you can't. Nearly half of U.S. aluminum consumption is on imports, right there. 47% of U.S. aluminum consumption was from imports. Yeah, we need to bring this back, dude. That's just a fact. It's for national security. It's for good jobs at home. And frankly, I'm reading this article right here. Do I still have it up here? I guess I don't. But let's see if I can't find it. Health impacts of industrialization, water pollution, and economic spillovers during the World War I steel boom. And it's very interesting to talk about child infant mortality and whatnot being downstream of Youngstown, Ohio, and Pittsburgh steel manufacturing plants, where they just dumped all the stuff into the water and people were drinking it up. And then the minute they started cleaning, all of a sudden the infant mortality rates dropped, or in terms of the amount of kids dying dropped. Amazing how hygiene worked without any kind of jabbies. Shocking. It's almost like you gotta wonder, maybe Ignaz Semmelweis was right. Hygiene works. All the other crap, and my man Alfred Marshall, not Alfred Marshall, freaking what's the guy's name? Hold a second. Russell Wallace, who Darwin stole from, who's a big anti-veer, if you know what I'm saying, jabbier. Almost like hygiene and eating well is really key to things. Crazy. Anyway, Trump, keep doing it. Freaking crushing. Love it. This is what I voted for. 100%. So let's get it going. Let's get these manufacturing jobs up. We'll see you. God bless.